Why do people with avoidant attachment prefer anxious partners? People with avoidant attachment want to feel loved and desired, but they're terrified of the emotional demands that come with real intimacy. They need connection, but they panic when someone gets too close. They crave validation, but they hate feeling obligated to give it back. This creates an impossible situation. How do you get love without having to fully participate in it? How do you feel special without being vulnerable? How do you maintain control while still experiencing connection? The answer is simple. You choose someone who will do all the emotional heavy lifting for you. Anxious partners solve this dilemma perfectly. They're the ones texting first, planning dates, bringing up feelings, and working to resolve conflicts. They chase when you pull away and give constant reassurance, even when they receive very little in return. For someone who wants the benefits of love without the emotional responsibility, anxious people are ideal. But there's more to it than just convenience. Anxious partners also give avoidants something they desperately crave: control. When you're with someone who panics at distance, you hold all the power in the relationship. You can regulate exactly how much intimacy happens and when. You can pull away and they'll chase harder. You can go silent and they'll reach out desperately. You can give breadcrumbs of affection and they'll treat it like a feast. This dynamic lets avoidants feel wanted without ever feeling trapped, because they're always the one setting the emotional temperature. Anxious partners also provide the perfect excuse for avoidant behavior. Every time their partner gets too clingy or too emotional, it justifies pulling away. The avoidant can blame their distance on their partner's intensity rather than examining their own fear of intimacy. They get to be the victim of someone else's neediness instead of owning their emotional unavailability. But there's another layer to this choice that's even more revealing. Avoidants don't just pick anxious partners for what they give, they pick them for what they don't demand. Anxious people are so focused on getting more attention and connection that they rarely ask the deeper questions. They don't probe into the avoidant's past, they don't challenge their emotional walls, and they don't demand authentic vulnerability. They're too busy trying to earn love to notice they're not actually receiving it. This creates the perfect setup for someone who wants to remain hidden. The anxious partner's focus is always on the surface. More texts, more time together, more verbal affirmations. They mistake quantity for quality, intensity for intimacy. Meanwhile, the avoidant can stay completely concealed behind polite responses and surface-level engagement. The avoidant also gets something else from this dynamic: the feeling of being special. Anxious partners often have a savior complex. They believe they can be the one person who finally breaks through those walls, who finally makes the avoidant feel safe enough to open up. This makes the avoidant feel unique and mysterious, like they're worth pursuing despite their distance. But perhaps the most twisted aspect of this choice is how it feeds the avoidant's sense of moral superiority. Because the anxious partner is always the one reaching out, always the one expressing needs, always the one appearing needy, the avoidant gets to feel like the mature, stable one. They convince themselves that their emotional distance is actually emotional regulation, that their inability to connect is actually strength. Breaking these cycles becomes incredibly difficult because both people are getting psychological payoffs that keep them trapped. The anxious partner gets to feel like a devoted, loving person who's doing everything right. The avoidant gets to feel wanted, special, and emotionally superior all at once. What makes this even more complicated is that avoidants often don't consciously understand why they make these choices. They might tell themselves they're attracted to their partner's warmth, their expressiveness, their emotional availability. They might genuinely believe they want someone who can help them open up. But on a deeper level, they're drawn to people who won't actually require them to change. The tragedy is that both attachment styles are actually looking for the same thing: genuine love and acceptance, but their strategies for getting it are completely incompatible. The anxious person tries to earn love through devotion and pursuit. The avoidant tries to maintain love through distance and control. Neither approach creates real intimacy. And this is where the still feeling alone part of the equation becomes clear. No matter how much attention, affection, or adoration the avoidant receives, it can never fill the emptiness inside them. Because the love they're receiving is conditional. It's based on their partner's hope that they'll eventually change, not on who they actually are right now. The anxious partner loves their potential, not their reality. They love the version of the avoidant they glimpse in rare moments of openness, not the person who consistently pulls away. This means the avoidant is never truly seen or accepted for who they are. They're only tolerated in hopes of who they might become. These relationships can last for years without ever deepening because the avoidant gets enough connection to avoid complete isolation, but never enough authenticity to feel truly known. They exist in a kind of emotional purgatory, not alone, but not really together either. The anxious partner becomes like an emotional insurance policy. No matter how distant or cold the avoidant becomes, they know this person will always be there, always trying to reconnect, always willing to forgive. It's the perfect setup for someone who fears abandonment but can't handle true intimacy. But despite getting everything they think they want from this dynamic, avoidants still end up feeling profoundly alone. And that's because what they're receiving isn't actually love. It's desperation disguised as devotion. The anxious partner isn't loving who they really are. They're loving the potential of who they could become. They're loving an idea, not a person. This creates a tragic irony. Avoidants choose anxious partners to feel safe and loved, but the very dynamic that makes them feel safe also ensures they'll never experience genuine intimacy. They're surrounded by someone's affection while remaining fundamentally unknown. They get attention without connection, validation without vulnerability, and presence without true companionship. The anxious partner's love, no matter how intense, can never reach the real person hiding behind all those walls. And deep down, avoidants know this. They know they're being loved for a performance, not for their authentic self. Even in relationships where they're adored and pursued, they still feel empty and disconnected because they know they're being loved for a performance, not for their authentic self. They chose the perfect partner to keep them safe from real love, and in doing so, they guaranteed they'd never actually receive it. These relationships feel so maddening because each person is experiencing a different kind of starvation. If you're the anxious partner, you're giving everything but never feeling truly received. You sense that no matter how much love you pour out, it never reaches the real person. If you're watching this happen to someone you care about, you can see how they're starving for genuine connection while being fed scraps. And if you recognize yourself as the avoidant in this dynamic, you might be realizing why you feel so empty despite having someone who adores you. You got exactly what you thought you wanted: love without vulnerability, connection without risk, but it left you more isolated than ever. The cruel truth is that both people end up starving in different ways. The anxious partner starves for genuine reciprocity. The avoidant starves for authentic acceptance. Neither gets what they truly need, yet both keep feeding a cycle that can last for years. Have you noticed this pattern in your own relationships? Share your experience in the comments below. Your story might help someone else recognize what they're going through. And if this video helped you understand something you've been struggling with, make sure to like and subscribe for more insights into attachment styles and relationship dynamics.